Kathleen Wynne, you made one heck of an announcement this morning that I don't think anyone was expecting. That's unprecedented.
Yeah, and I know that, and we talked about it a lot in the team. But what I was hearing from candidates and from people was that they want change. Mm-hmm. They want a new government, and they are worried. They're worried about a majority NDP or a majority Conservative government. And so what I said this morning was the way to avoid that is to vote for Liberals, who will be that check on a majority, would avoid a majority. Because I know that I'm not going to be the Premier, and I know that we're not going to form government just from everything that's happening. I know that. Mm-hmm. And I just, you know what, I just think it's important for the province that we don't give a blank check to the NDP or to Doug Ford.
Why now, though? I mean, the polls have been saying this story for quite some time. Why now, and were you pushed out by your own party? Have they forced you to do this?
No, really not. In fact, there are lots of tears today, you know. No, what we saw was a coming together of all of the numbers, you know. There was a confluence of a sort of consensus building, and yes, there have been polls, but there have been different numbers earlier. Mm-hmm. But it has become clear that people want change. They want a different government, but they're really torn about how to avoid handing a blank check to the NDP or Doug Ford.
So if it's not going to be you as the next Premier, who should the next Premier be?
The people of the province will decide that. And I'm not in any way trying to direct that. I'm not trying to choose.
But you must, in your heart of hearts.
I really, people are going to sort that out. Riding by riding, that will sort itself out. But across the province, I know, it's either going to be Andrew Horwath or it's going to be Doug Ford. But
you just want it to be a minority.
I believe that there should be a check on that.
What about your riding? I mean, you're in a neck-and-neck battle in your own riding. Are you going to stay on if you win?
I'm going to serve the people of Don Valley West. I said that this morning.
Mm-hmm. But if you win and you're the local MPP, are you going to stay on in that riding for 4 years?
I'm going to stay on. I can't predict the future. I'm going to fight hard. I'm going to be campaigning in my riding tomorrow, mm-hmm. Because I know we're tight all over the province. But I am very committed to the people of Don Valley West, and I am going to continue to fight for that riding, and I'm going to be traveling around the province for the next few days, fighting for those local candidates who are fantastic.
Do you think by this action today that you're actually handing the NDP more votes? Why would Liberals continue to vote for the Liberals when you have conceded defeat? Would they not then fly in droves to the NDP?
Well, what we know is that there are lots of people who have voted Liberal who don't really want to vote NDP. They want to believe that they can make a difference. They're not interested in an NDP majority any more than they're interested in a Doug Ford majority. And so this gives them the ability to say, okay, I can take a second look at this, because yeah, we do need Liberals at Queen's Park. We do need Liberals to be that fair voice that is going to allow us to avoid a majority.
Is this a save the furniture move? I mean, polls are suggesting you might not even get 8 seats, that you're going to be obliterated and not have party status. Is this a last-ditch effort to, I'm not going to be the leader, but still vote for my MPPs?
It is an honest reflection of what I'm hearing. It's an honest reflection of what I believe to be the thing that can help us to get more Liberals to Queen's Park.
So you think if you're out of the picture, more people will vote Liberal?
Well, and I said in the debate, I said, I'm sorry that more people don't like me. I acknowledged that. I acknowledged that for whatever reason, it makes it harder for people to vote Liberal because I'm the leader, So
what is that like to, like, how does, that's got to be soul crushing.
It's hard. And people constantly ask me, well, why? And I don't know the full answer to that. I don't know. But what's harder, honestly, Cynthia, what's harder is to think that we would lose momentum on the good things that are happening in the province. Honestly, I mean, we look at this trail, look at the work that's been done here by the waterfront that we have funded, that we have worked with the city on, and I just don't want that to stop. I want us to be the very best that we can be here in Ontario. And so I believe that at this moment, it's important that we not have a majority NDP government that would not be good for the economy. There needs to be a check on that. And I certainly believe that we shouldn't have a Doug Ford majority government because he doesn't have a plan. He's going to cut billions of dollars out of services, and that needs to be stopped. So that's why I did what I did today.
But certainly your values are more aligned with the NDP.
Well, again, I think there are risks in both of those scenarios. The people of the province will decide who they want as their premier, but I hope that they'll decide that premier will not be given a blank check.
Let's get back to the why, because I've been thinking about this a lot myself. Like, why? Is it because you're a woman? Is it because you're an older woman? Is it because you're gay?
Well, I think all of those things may have something to do with it.
I mean, I've seen your Twitter feed and the comments.
Yeah, and it's interesting. It's interesting that you add age into that because I do think there's an element of that as well.
More for a woman than if you were a man. I'm going to guess.
Men get distinguished as they get old, right? That's not necessarily how people see women. But I've never used that as an excuse in any way, and I never would, because I think that there's a certain group of people who see those things as a problem, and I don't know whether they ever voted for me in the first place and whether they ever had a good opinion of me at all. But there are other things at play, and I've said to you before, I think that there are some tough decisions that I made that a lot of people didn't like. Hydro One.
Is that the one that turned people against you?
It may be the lightning rod one,
I think they were mad because you didn't campaign on that, and then you did it without any warning, and people were angry because they felt you betrayed them.
Well, and I campaigned on looking at our assets, but I didn't, because we hadn't made the decision. We didn't know what we were going to do. We didn't know how we were going to get the money to build the transit and build roads and bridges, and it was after the election. I had said we were going to leverage assets. I had said that, but I hadn't been able to say, yeah, and this is what we're going to do with Hydro One. So that may very well be, and I know there already are some columnists who have said that was the moment.
Toronto Star had one the other day.
Yeah. So again, the historians, the journalists will they'll look back and they'll determine whether that was it. But I think there's more to it than that. I think it's some of the stuff that you talked about as well. I think it's also our government's been in office for a long time.
The pendulum has swung, and let's face it, there's been a lot of Liberal baggage that you've been carrying that Dalton McGuinty's started, and there
were lots of issues. I mean, I'm proud of this government. I've been part of this government since day one. I'm proud of what we've done, but it's a long time, and so that was definitely that may be the number one going in challenge.
Well, people say the Liberals are corrupt, that they've wasted a lot of money, that their life is not better, that their taxes are higher, and they're angry. I've never seen this much anger amongst voters in an election before, and it seems to all be targeted at you.
Well, and I have to, I just have to balance that with, there are a lot of people who are happy. There are a lot of people who are happy that they're earning $14 an hour, who are happy that their kids are getting prescription medication, who are happy that they're going to have a better retirement. They're going to have better retirement security because of what we did here in Ontario. So there is that as well, and that was sort of the disconnect with the I'm sorry, not sorry.
Did that work? I'm sorry, I'm not sorry. What do you think?
I think it did. I mean, I think it helped people to focus then on our record and what we have been doing, and I'm getting that feedback from people as well, and that's again why I'm taking this next step today, because there are so many good things that we have done. There are so many reasons that our vision for the province is important, that we want that to be a mix in the mix at Queen's Park.
What is next for Kathleen Wynne? What are you going to do?
Oh, I just got to get to June 7th. I have to get to June 7th.
But after that, do you think you're going to feel a little lost?
Well, I think that this is the best job in the world. I mean, I'm blessed to have had it. There are only 25 people who have had this job, so I feel so privileged. And honestly, Cynthia, every time I walk into Queen's Park, I feel so privileged to work there, to have the honor and the responsibility to make decisions that are going to affect people's lives today and into the future and their children's lives. I mean, there's nothing more profound than that. And so I feel privileged, and it is constant and it is intense. And so whatever happens after June 7th, there's going to be a bit of a whoa.
Right.
Yeah, this is a big change.
Looking back on the last 4 years, since that night 4 years ago, roughly, where you were wearing that bright red dress and you were on stage and you had your arms up in that victory and the biggest grin on your face, a lot has changed. And you're not grinning.
I'm smiling. The
grin
is different.
The grin is different. It's a little pained, I think, and your step is a bit different. And I can see it in your eyes. But when you
today particularly,
yes, but I will say I could see it a little bit throughout this campaign. You just didn't have your usual oomph and sparkle,
it's been a tough
right?
campaign.
Yeah.
I mean, I have worked incredibly hard. We've been going from dawn till dusk, It's been a hard campaign, but it's so worth it. So worth it.
Do you look back on the last 4 years and think of things that you wish you had done differently or better, so that you wouldn't be in this situation, having this conversation right now?
Well, I wish that I could have figured out, even if we'd ended in the same place where, people wanted a change, I wish I could have figured out how to make it clearer to people that I do care, that I want their lives to be better. Because I think part of the antipathy, part of the reason that people don't like me, those who don't like me, is that they don't know that I actually do care about them. They think that somehow I set myself apart from them, that I'm somehow aloof or rich or different than they are, And I just wish more people knew that I was a pretty ordinary person. And I mean, I tell the story when I talk about women in politics about how a dad on the street that I raised my kids on came up to me after the election in 2014 and said, you're just a mom. How did you get to be premier? You're just a mom. And that's how so many people knew me and saw me. And I kind of use that as why couldn't a mom be premier, right? But I had a pretty ordinary life, I had privileges because I was never poor. I had the privilege of being a middle-class white woman, and I know there's privilege attached to that. But I'm in politics because I believe that government can make the world fairer for people, can make our society fairer, can help people to have a better life. That's why I'm in politics, and I wish people knew that.
A couple of years ago, maybe 3 years ago, I said to you, no, it was just before the last election, I said, you've changed from the woman that I first met who was the parent activist working out of her kitchen and then a school trustee. And I said, you've changed. Do you have to sell your soul to be successful in politics? Do you have to make decisions that you normally wouldn't make when you were first that parent activist working out of your kitchen?
Well, decisions become more complex, right? I mean, when I was fighting Mike Harris tooth and nail because he was destroying our education system and destroying our healthcare system.
It's almost easier to be the person fighting against something than the one in charge, right?
Yeah, because you can have a simple message and a simple enemy,
and you're not responsible if it's for the bad decisions.
Yeah,
it's easier to call them out.
When I sit at when I sit at the cabinet table or I'm talking with my staff about a decision, I have to take everybody's view into account. And I work really hard to make sure I've heard all those perspectives, that we've brought people in who have the life experience to help us make a decision. But there is no decision, Cynthia, for which there aren't 2 or 3 sides, you know, 2 or 3 arguments. And so we're always balancing, we're always figuring out, you know, what's going to do the greatest good, what's the fairest thing for the greatest number of people. And one of the reasons that I believe it's important to have Liberals at Queen's Park is that we are practical. We're very practical in terms of what's the right way to go. We're not tied to one group or the other, you know, we're not tied to big corporate interests, we're not tied to organized labor. I love organized labor. I've worked with organized labor my whole career, but I'm not tied to an ideology. And so that's why I'm a Liberal, and I think that that makes, actually, I think it makes some decisions even harder because I'm looking at the whole issue.
Do you think you took your party too far to the left? It's, you know, the reputation is you spent too much money and the province is broke and the deficit is ballooning and the province can't afford you.
The province isn't broke, you know? I mean, we balanced the budget.
But the deficit is mammoth.
Paul Martin came to an event with us yesterday and he was talking about deficits, and he was talking about if you're investing in people's future, then that's the reason to run a deficit, and that's the kind of debt to carry. Most of our debt is because we've invested in infrastructure, we've invested in assets that will last for generations. The minority of our debt is deficit, year over year deficit. So what that means is that most of what we have borrowed to do is to build stuff that's going to last, to invest in people's future. So I just don't accept the argument that those investments aren't worth it. They are so worth it. That's how we've created 1 million jobs. That's how we've got the lowest unemployment in nearly 20 years. That's how we've got the fastest growing economy in North America, or among the fastest.
Who would you like to see as the next premier? Or Liberal leader, excuse me. Who would you like to see as the next Liberal leader of your party?
I'm not going to weigh into that.
That would start quite the fight, wouldn't it?
At some point there will be a leadership race, you know.
But there may not be many people left to carry that mantle.
You know what? There are thousands and thousands of Liberals around this province. There really are. I mean, you know, I was in Belleville the other night. There were over 100 people who came out. There are lots of Liberals. There are lots of people who believe in what we have done, believe in what we're doing, and when the time comes, and I'm not resigning, I'm carrying on, but when the time comes, there will be great people who will step up. I just know it.
I know you're not resigning. If you win your seat, it's going to be really tough for you to walk into Queen's Park and sit in a different seat with very few Liberals around you. How are you going to handle that?
Well, I'm going to cross that bridge when I come to it. You know, I am, and between now and then, I want to get as many Liberals elected as possible, and that's exactly what I was talking about today.
You might be overseeing, though, the biggest crushing loss in the party's history in the last 100 years.
I've done my best. I will continue to do my best, and there are great people running in this province, great Liberals who are running, and I want to get as many of them as possible to Queen's Park.
What has this done to your relationship with Jane? It has to be hard on a relationship.
She has been such an integral part of my political career, and she's right there with me.
I've seen her
step of the way.
every step on the trail. Yeah,
she is here. She works for herself, so she's doing work on the bus. And
but it must be tough for her to watch you go through this.
It is. It is hard. It is hard. I mean, it's hard to watch the stress from one step removed, I think, you know, but I couldn't ask for a better support. I just couldn't, you know. She's smart, she's funny.
She
can always make me laugh.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, always make me laugh. I think she's sad. I think she's sad right now, and we'll move beyond sad really quickly to let's get at her.
And the next phase.
Yeah,
a new chapter.
Exactly.
Another question I asked you about 1.5 years ago, and I said, how does a politician know it's time to go before they overstay their welcome? And
well,
and you said history will say, if I recall, that's how you answered it. And when you look back on that, was there perhaps a moment a year and a half ago that maybe you should have bowed out?
You know, I don't know the answer to that, because we really believed, and there was no indication that this wasn't the case. We really believed that with the policies that people were asking for, with the needs that people had, if we were able to address those needs, that there was a good chance that we would be able to make the case to the people of Ontario. And so that's why I stayed. And the other reason I stayed, and I think I've said this to you before, the other reason I stayed is that I had the support of my colleagues. You know, there was a very cohesive team. I will say there still is. I mean, people are emailing and texting today. I was on the conference call with all of the candidates earlier. So we really believed we could turn this around, and that's why I stayed, because there was unfinished work. And you know, we've done a lot of good work in this 4 years, and we've done a lot of good work in the last 2 years that we were building up to in the first 2 years.
We must be running short on time. How are we doing? Do I have time for one more? What time is it?
We have time. Yeah.
One more? Okay. Best and worst moment of your political career, your best achievement and your biggest regret. I won't say failure, because I'm being nice.
Yeah,
regret.
Yeah. Well, I think today has to be up there with the hardest days in my career.
What moment did you make this? Like, what day? Was it a week ago?
No.
After the debate?
No,
after I'm sorry, not sorry?
No, it's been a bit. It's been a couple of days. We kind of were working up to this. So I think this has been hard in terms of the political career, you know. But I have to say that what's the best moment? Honestly, there are so many of those, and some of them are really small moments, Cynthia. When a woman who's cleaning a building says to me that she's doing better because she's got the minimum wage, like, there's nothing like that. I can't even describe to you how that makes me feel, because it literally means she can buy more food for her family, and that's everything. So I have to say those are the moments that I cherish, and they are the moments I go back to when I think about how tired I am or how stressful this is. That is why I'm in this business.
Have you shed a few tears today?
I have. I shed them while I was doing the media availability, but I know that I'm doing my best to give everybody on the Liberal team the best shot.
Kathleen Wynne.